and turn my...
Hello, sisters. I'm pleased to report that our Get the Men Out rally, held on Sunday outside of MCF Shakopee, Minnesota's only women's prison, was successful beyond our wildest dreams. All told, we had close to 40 participants on site, a great turnout. The event was in support of recently released Shakopee inmate Jamie Ali and in opposition to Minnesota Department of Correction policy allowing men to be housed with vulnerable female inmates. While Elizabeth, our state contact from Minnesota, Jamie, and I were the primary organizers of the event, it was truly a collaborative effort. We couldn't have pulled it off without the many contributions of the Keep Prison single-sex advocates rounded up by Jamie and Elizabeth, or that of the participating organizations, which included WDI USA, Wolf, Diag, and Woman to Woman. We were beyond thrilled when Amy Ichikawa committed to flying in from California to join us, and nearly speechless when she told us that newly peaked Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Tish Hyman had also agreed to do so in less than 24 hours before the event. That they would both lend their high visibility platforms to our cause meant the world to us, and we are most grateful for their efforts. Save Women's Sports founder and Minnesota resident Beth Stelzer also made a last-minute decision to join us. It was great to see her, and I'm sure those present were inspired by her support. I'd also like to give a shout out to Redhead Ranting, who live streamed the event, and also to Kara for promoting the link on X and yesterday on Substack. Over 750 people watched live, and as of today, the stream has had 12.6 thousand views. Our other noteworthy speakers included Rebecca Delahunt, who serves as the Director of Public Policy with Minnesota Family Council, former Shakopee employee turned whistleblower Alicia Beckman, Rebecca Warmbo, formerly incarcerated at Shakopee, and Minnesota Representative Paul Novotny, the co-author of Minnesota Bill HF 435, requiring the Commissioner of Corrections to house only female inmates at Shakopee, who graciously waited close to 3 hours to address the crowd until after all the scheduled female speakers had done so. Sadly, Alpha News was the only media outlet that responded to our press release, but their people were committed and stayed for the duration. And yesterday, the outlet published comprehensive coverage of the event that includes not only high-quality video, but a high-quality, full-length live stream recording, as well as detailed quotes from many of the speeches, including mine, marking the first time I've ever been quoted by the media as a volunteer with WDI USA. Oh, and Joe, you'll be happy to know that as we were all getting better acquainted with one another over a post-protest celebratory meal, a couple of women said they recognized me from the weekly reports on WDI, which was very encouraging to hear. For some time, Elizabeth, Brianna, and I, WDI USA state contacts for Minnesota, Illinois, and Wisconsin respectively, have been struggling to build a Midwest coalition to advocate for women and kids here in what's all too often considered flyover country. If our latest protest is any indication, it would appear that our efforts are finally paying off, and to keep that momentum going, we've already begun planning our next event, which will likely shift to something hockey related. Hockey is huge in Minnesota, and the state's largest recreational women's hockey league, the Women's Hockey Association of Minnesota, or WHAM, is currently being overrun with men. As reported by Redex just this week and by Sarah Barker earlier this month in the female category Substack. We're considering doing a silent protest that allows our signs to communicate our message at a rink where male players are competing as and against women, hoping to capitalize on the press generated by the XX armband case I mentioned last week. the oral arguments of which were heard by the First Circuit Court of Appeals on November 4th. As Kerri explains, at issue in the case is whether parents of female athletes have a First Amendment right to wear wristbands wearing XX on them at school athletic events, and whether it was constitutional for school officials to eject some parents from a game and ban them from school grounds. Not to mention that the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral arguments in two important sport cases on January 13th, as Kerri recently shared on X and has covered extensively in her Turf Report Substack. If anyone is interested in learning more about how U.S. schools are compelling and or stifling speech related to sex versus gender identity ideology, the speech Glenna Goldis gave at GenSpec's The Bigger Picture conference held in September and uploaded to YouTube last week is recommended viewing. And finally, last week I mentioned that the Supreme Court had temporarily granted the Trump administration's request that it be allowed to enforce its executive branch policy requiring that all new passports accurately reflect the holder's sex. Though the New York Times commentary about the case published yesterday presented every conceivable argument undermining the ruling, it surprisingly and accurately quotes Kerri speaking on behalf of WDI USA. Unfortunately, the article states that WDI USA advocates excluding trans women from the category of women in the context of women's rights. As Kerri writes, that's close. WDI USA is a politically nonpartisan feminist organization that advocates excluding men from the category of women in all contexts. The full quote reads, "It's really important that we be honest and factual about who the women are and who the men are. There are real, tangible reasons why it's important to get this right when it comes to passports. It's a big deal," as board member Lauren Levy posted on X, that the New York Times is no longer completely silencing sex realist voices. That's all I have today. Thank you.